What's up, everybody? Welcome to the People's Choice Podcast, episode 26. I'm here with a man I've known for many years, but this is really our first time, probably since 2013 at least, maybe, seeing each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, life has, put us in different paths and stuff, but I'm glad we get to come back for this show. This guy's a coach. He's always been a leader since even our days when we played together, man. My homie, Jacob. How you doing, brother?
What's up?
So for all my peeps out here that, are new to the channel or new to, just the audio of it, can you give us a small introduction?
Like you said, we played together in high school for Coach Stone. I graduated in 2014. I believe you were a sophomore or a freshman, I believe.
Yep, sophomore.
We played O-line together. That's how we got to know each other. And like you said, after I graduated, of course, I was still around for Mikey and Chase's senior and junior year. So I saw you then when you were playing with them. And then shortly after that, I got into coaching basketball, ironically.
Okay.
I did that for a rec team. And then my old youth pastor got a hold of me, and I went and joined him in the middle school at Fayetteville Christian right around the corner from Bird.
Yep.
And we actually won the championship my first year there, and then we lost in the championship the second year. I did that. That was fun. Kind of got my foot in the door. Doing that actually kind of helped me realize what kind of coach I was, because doing private school, doing a Christian school, you kind of have to walk a very, very thin line compared to how we were at Bird. So
I can only imagine, man.
Yeah, so that was very that kind of helped me realize how I was as far as like talking to kids, talking to their parents, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then from there, about that time is when Coach Stone came back to Fayetteville, and at the time, my coach, our coach, Coach Clanton, he couldn't join because he just got over his lung cancer that he had at the time. So he told Coach Stone that I was coaching now, and obviously I was still in the area, so he got a hold of me, and I went over there to Village and joined him. And I believe they didn't win any games, maybe a few before we got there. And we took them. We went 6-6, went to the state championship. And in private school, it's a little different. It's only like 2 rounds, and then you're in the state championship. And we went and we played Statesville Christian, and we lost to them, unfortunately. But going from a school that didn't win much, taking them straight to the state championship, that was fun to be a part of. Had a bunch of great kids that some of them playing college. Our workhorse was Emory Simmons. He plays at UNC right now.
Oh, shout out to you, man.
Oh yeah, but that was fun. Got to know some coaches, and some of our old Bird coaches joined us there. Coach Lynn was with us. Coach Guzan was with us. Byron actually was the D-line coach while I was there. So,
oh man,
coach, yeah, coaching against someone that you play with against for 5 years, that was fun because our competition stayed with each other. Jordan was there with us, so that was a lot of fun. And then after some things went down there, Coach Stone got the job up here in Hickory. He told me he was leaving, and if I wanted to come, I had the O-line. It was all going to be mine. So after talking with family and my girlfriend, and and then a long talk with my grandfather, who I look up to a lot too. I decided to make the trip up here. So been up here for 4 years now. Before we got here, they only won 3 games in 4 years with 3 different coaches. And the first year we went 6-6, lost in the first round, and then kind of a roller coaster after that. And after this last year, the COVID season, as they were calling it, wasn't that great of a season at all for us. But I don't know if you know this, and I guess people who I don't talk to often. Coach Stone's not there anymore, so I decided to make the decision to take a year off from coaching.
Oh wow!
And I'm gonna try to find me a school, start my teaching stuff, and get back rolling. So that way, my goal down the road is to be a head coach, kind of like Coach Stone was, and run some top tier programs and do that, and then kind of go that route, see how that goes for me.
Awesome, man. That's awesome, and breaking news right there too for letting me know and my peeps, man. I'm speaking, but I'm very proud of you, man. You've traveled all around. Like I said, you did private school, public school.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So, all right. So, as we get started, I know we didn't really get to touch on, like your upbringing growing up. So, what was it like growing up? You from Fayetteville, right? You was born there?
Actually, no. So I was born in Oklahoma,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah. So after my mom, my dad, they split. We ended up here because my grandfather was stationed here.
Okay.
So growing up, I mean, I had a pretty simple, upbringing. I didn't have it. I didn't have it harder as some of the people we went to school with, and I wasn't as good as some of the people that went to other schools that were around us. But my mom made do. We did all right. Never went without food or anything like that. I had a pretty simple upbringing, and um, I was always a football kid. I was the kind of kid that I thought if you played anything other than football, you were a punk. So that was kind of always my thing. And um, but yeah, it was always just me and my mom, and then the only family I knew was my grandfather, my grandma, and my two uncles. So I was really the only one with athletic ability. My mom actually taught me how to throw a football.
Wow.
Um,
Shout out
but
to
yeah,
your
I
mom.
mean, oh yeah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I had a pretty basic. I wasn't walking around with the newest J's, but I also, my mom made sure we had dinner at night. So I mean, it was pretty simple upbringing, really.
That's awesome, man. And shout out to your mom again for that, because
Oh yeah,
my mom basically was the same with me. She didn't teach me how to throw the football, but she bust her ass, and made
oh
sure
yeah,
she provided and stuff, man.
oh yeah.
That's awesome. So, what age did you start playing football?
Um, I remember asking my mom that question. I started pretty young. Playing wise, I started like the normal age of when you could start doing pads. I didn't want to do flag football.
Yeah,
Um, I started playing in Harnett County, which is maybe like 30 minutes away from Fayetteville, depending on where you're leaving.
that's where I first
Um,
started playing football. Wow.
yeah, yeah. So I played 3 years there, and then I moved to Fayetteville in sixth grade. And when we got into middle school for seventh and eighth, my mom was like, "You're gonna play football. You're gonna play football." And my seventh grade year, I kind of punked out. My seventh grade year, when I punked out, I was like, "Okay, I'm finally gonna do it." So then I went to I was gonna go to tryouts. I talked to Coach Faircloth,
Mhm.
and I was 2 days late, and he already had made the team, so I couldn't play. So then I played my eighth grade year, and then that's when our eighth grade class, me, Bolger, Jose, Byron, we'd all go over to the high school and lift, and we were walking around with some of the state championship guys and lifting with the state championship guys and doing that thing. But I've been playing since I was little. Funny story my mom always likes to tell is my dad was a 49ers fan and I'm a Cowboys fan.
Okay.
And my mom told me he put a 49ers like jumpsuit on me and I took it off running because I didn't want to wear it because it wasn't the Cowboys. So I've always been around football, which I always thought was kind of weird because really no one in my family except for maybe one cousin that I know of
Mm-hmm.
is actually like football savvy. Like, my dad watches it and stuff, but as far as like football savviness, I'm really the only one who played sports and does sports really for a living.
And trailblazer throughout your family. That's
And I
what's
hope
up,
so.
brother. So, who's your sports heroes growing up? Yeah, I always look up to Ray Lewis. Who was yours?
Um, at the time, I think coming up, I didn't really have a specific player.
Mm-hmm.
I was more so of Dallas Cowboys and Oklahoma State Cowboys. So really anyone who played for them. I guess over time watching it and learning more about the sport and stuff, and I'm an O-line guy through and through.
Mm-hmm.
One guy I liked, I ended up liking. Okay, so that more so happened in high school, I guess, to answer your question. Like when I got into high school and I really took O-line seriously because Coach Clanton made me fall in love with the position.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I had cutouts. So what I did when I was a freshman and sophomore, I went to my grandfather's house because I didn't have a computer at my house, and I printed out pictures of some of my favorite old linemen.
Mm-hmm.
So this was like 2009, 2010, 2011, around that time. I printed out pictures of Joe Thomas, Nick Mangold, Tyrone Smith, like all those guys, and just had random pictures of these dudes in my binder as like a inspiration because they were my favorite guys to watch. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess around that time was Joe Thomas. He was a big one I liked watching. Like I said, Nick Mangold, Tyrone Smith, and then as I got into older dudes, Larry Allen, Orlando Pace, Willie Anderson, guys like that.
Man, shout out to the O line, man. They don't get enough
Oh
love,
yeah.
man. Like,
No, they don't. They don't.
that's why I was excited to talk to you about this because I'm like, yes, fine. I mean, I haven't talked about football on the show since Coach Stone. So that
Mm-hmm.
was literally 25 episodes ago. So
Oh yeah. Oh
yes,
yeah.
finally. I tried to
Oh
find the
yeah.
Pittsburgh hat, but for whatever reason, I can't find it. Like the
Mm.
moment of it, like I had to, at least show it out. But
Oh yeah.
so, at what moment did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
Actually, my junior year.
Really?
So yeah. So freshman year, I played left tackle, and then when I got moved up as a freshman for the playoffs, because it was me, Brian, and John all got moved up from that JV team.
Mm-hmm.
I got moved up to play guard because I wasn't quite tall enough or long enough to play tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So I played guard and I was learning guard. And that was tough because all through high school, I graduated at maybe 210, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't a very big old lineman, But sophomore year, I ended up learning center. So I already learned the entire O line by my sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
And then junior year, I actually played tight end because I caught a pass in front of Coach Stone, and he said, "Come to the 7-on-7 with us tomorrow." And the only pass I dropped that day went straight to TJ Logan, and he took it down the sideline for a little pick in the 7-on-7. But
the Hope County game when you converted you to tight end? I mean, not game, but the scrimmage we did. Because I remember you ended up killing it. I was like, okay.
No, yeah, I think we played them at that 7-on-7.
Yeah.
Because I think that day, I think I only dropped one pass, and like I said, it went straight to TJ Logan, who ended up playing for UNC and then playing for the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was my junior year. Once I kind of at the time, I didn't really know too much. I wasn't asking Coach Stone and Coach Tripp enough questions about going to college because kind of how I am when I have my mind set on one thing, I'm kind of riding with that one. And of course, I wanted to play college ball. Every football player does.
Oh yeah.
But once I kind of saw how Coach Stone, Coach Clanton, and Coach Tripp, how they run things, the brains that goes in behind it, the hours of film they have to watch, how much they care for the kids. Once I saw more of that, I kind of was riding with that. And it wasn't until after high school where I really learned about how colleges put you on meal plans. So I could have gained weight after and all that kind of stuff. But it was my junior year. I actually remember walking over. No, so after our junior year, my senior year, we were walking over to the middle school to watch the middle school practice, and no, actually watching some of the Pee Wee games after we had a summer practice on a Saturday early in the season. And I walked over there with, I think it was Coach Tripp, Coach Lynn, and Coach Stone, and I was asking Coach Lynn questions about what's it like to coach and stuff like that. So, it really started my junior year though. I was like, I'm not that big. O linemen have to be a certain size, this, that, and the third. And I kind of just stuck with, I was like, I'm smart. I know the game. I know our offense. Let's try this coaching thing out. So after that, and, I never gave up on football. If I had the chance, I would have played anywhere, but I kind of stuck with, I think I can do this coaching thing. So I went that route.
That's awesome, man. And the fact that you thought about coaching junior year, I mean, there's, guys that, especially that we went to school with, that will hold on to man, I gotta play college ball, until literally senior year or even after senior year and try to do things. But you knew pretty early that you wanted to make an impact, you want to be a coach. That's amazing, man, especially as a junior.
Yeah, because I wanted, because my senior year signing day, we had Byron, Jose, Willie, Elijah. I want to say someone else, but I don't remember. But, of course, I wanted to, be one of those guys with the signing day and stuff like that. But, I was so dead set on, I could do the coaching thing. That's kind of where I was going to put my money and see what would happen. So, because my plan was actually when I graduated, I actually had a pretty long talk with Coach Tripp one time in the office. And, I was talking to him about it. And he said, go to school, get your degrees, and you can come basically be a part-time coach for us. So if they would have never fired Coach Stone my senior year after we lost, I was actually going to be coaching at Bird with Coach Stone and them and helping Coach Clanton out on That would have been a dream right
Yeah,
there.
like that would have been, man. I'm still salty about them letting go of Coach Stone. Like
Yeah, it was.
in the same sense.
Yeah.
So after you go ahead and say announce to coach that you want to be a coach your junior year and you finish out your senior year. So where did you go for college?
So I actually went. So since I was focusing on trying to become a teacher and doing all that, what I was going to do, what I ended up doing was going to Fayetteville Tech
Okay.
and just taking general education classes so I could transfer somewhere. And I was doing that because if you do your general education classes at a community college, if you take what is transferable to a actual college, once you get to that college, all you have to focus on is your actual degree.
Yep.
So that was my plan. And then what I ended up screwing up was I took my second semester, I took online classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never been so lazy in my life. Until you have the chance to do online classes, you get super lazy. So I ended up like missing assignments, and the only class I had to go to the school with that semester was a public speaking class. And I mixed up my days on one of our speeches where I had to go to the school. And she said, "You're fine. We'll meet up one day and you can just give me the speech." And we did. And she told me I wouldn't get a 0. I got a 0 and I failed.
Oh,
So yeah. So once that kind of happened, that took a lot of not confidence, but that took a lot of
just took a toll,
steam.
right?
Yeah. So because I've never like failed at school before, and I was like really got lazy. So I stopped doing that, and then I kind of just started working. I was still working at Zaxby's because I worked at Zaxby's after football season, and then Chase got me a job at Chick-fil-A, so I was over there, and then eventually being there for maybe a year. I don't even think a full year is when Coach Stone came back to Fayetteville, and I was doing that for a while. So,
and that was at the at Village with Coach
yep,
Stone.
yep,
What was that
Village
experience?
Christian.
I know you talked about a little bit with being in private school, but what was it completely like? Because I know you coming from football mind with Bird. I mean, you know how Bird was, So for all my viewers know. But then going to a private school, explain to like my viewers like what was that culture shock like?
It definitely was a culture shock because you have to definitely watch what you say, and I don't condone absolutely just cussing a kid out and doing all this, but it's a part of the game where emotions are high, and you're explaining something to them, and this, that, and the third, and coach will yell and get on to you and try to make you better and all this kind of things. But like when you're at a private school, especially a Christian private school, it's just there's so many more people involved with it that you don't even realize. So like Village, the way they're set up is when anything sports related or school activity related, they get the church involved. So like there's a church attached to the school. So there could be people who have a say-so on the school as far as like where their money goes that have no ties to the school. Like they have no kids, no grandkids, no nothing. So when they go to do their tithe offerings or something, and part of that money may go to the school or whatever, however they have that set up, they'll ask the church, hey, do you think we can do this? And these people can vote no, or they can vote yes, or whatever, or they can vote, they can want someone out of the school or something like that. So you just have to be very careful, what you say and what you do, because those kids, it's different when you're at Bird because 9 times out of 10, a kid, he's used to getting yelled at home. So when you yell at him, he's okay, whatever. When you yell at a kid at a private school, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go tell mom. So, you have to really watch what you say. And I mean, at any school, really, you have to watch what you say, but definitely at private schools. And then I think also what does it is there's money anywhere you go, as far as like, they say politics are in it, but like when people can give money, in anything, when people think they give money, they think they have like a certain say-so or a certain right to say something. What I noticed in private school, because it didn't affect me as much in private school because there was a lot of buffers before it got to me. So like you had Coach Stone, then you had, Coach Lynn, his right-hand man there, Coach Kuzan, Coach Zach, who actually went to the school in high school and then coached there, and his brother was our quarterback. So I was kind of looking from afar and hearing stories and stuff like that. And it was just a bunch of, wow, that's kind of weird, or I didn't think they'd have a say so, or, so
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing though is like you have to watch what you say, because a kid does something crazy, you just want to go what the, and then you have grandma and grandpa sitting behind you 2 feet behind you, and it's just. But overall, I mean, it was a fun experience because like I said, it kind of, doing that first year of football in a private school, it really kind of, like kind of how it was at Fayetteville Christian, it really kind of let me see how I was as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of learn how to talk without having to cuss, or without having to say something, what someone would say is mean or vulgar or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it kind of helped me that way. One thing I don't miss is there was a school we had to play, I think it was Concord. We had to go there twice, and they're 3.5 hours away.
Ooh. Yeah, I remember
So
Coach
yeah.
saying about that long bus ride and how it aggravated his hip. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first time we played them, they beat the dog snot out of us, and a 3-hour bus ride home and getting the dog snot kicked out of you is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those away games, man, they were like, there was one night we didn't get home till like close to 12, 11 from the bus ride home, and I was like, this is terrible. Luckily, I would ride with Coach Guzan and Byron in his dad's truck, so that was a little bit easier. But yeah, those bus rides are not fun because private schools are in their own conference, so they have to play other private schools for the most part. So that I don't miss.
I understand you completely, man.
Yeah.
So, with you being really a student of the game, from being a player, then transition to coach, what's one thing that you've learned as a player that basically translated well into coaching, and or even to your regular life?
So one thing that really clicked for me also when I realized I wanted to coach was coming into Mike and Chase's freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Their talent was their talent. Like, they were good on their own. Like, I had nothing to do with their talent, but there was one summer where there was a few days, every so often, where when I would go work out at the school by myself in the field or whatever, just trying to work on my stuff, I would take them with me, and I was giving them coaching tips on what they were going to learn when they got there. So when they got there, like Coach Clanton didn't have to fix their stance or anything like that. So,
oh yeah, I remember he's called Mike. Shout out to you, Mike. He's called him the future.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was like, yeah, all was a natural.
Oh yeah, all that was them. But doing that kind of helped me realize that the part I loved the most about it was I'm a natural, like I like helping people when I can. Like, if someone comes ask me for help, if I can help, I will. So coaching is almost doing that 24/7, because Coach Stone and Coach Tripp were the epitome of it. They always talk about they never had money in their wallet because they were helping kids who I played with who didn't have food at home. They'd buy them dinner before they took them home every day, or give them rides home. And I think every single year from my freshman to my senior year, Coach Stone was offering to buy me cleats because he would do those bulk submissions to East Bay. And I think 2 years I was playing with like busted up cleats because my mom just couldn't afford, any big expensive cleats. And he would always offer, and my mom never liked doing handouts or anything, but, he would always offer my mom, like, I want to take care of them. And this is when I was a freshman, so I didn't really prove myself yet, but he was like, I don't want him walking around in those. So if you need my help, just let me know. We can get him some cleats, and you don't have to worry about paying me back on. So seeing that on a day-to-day basis is always kind of how I am. And then ironically, people say this that I work with, because I'm a manager at the Chick-fil-A I work at now in Hickory. They can tell with the way I approach people in a situation as a manager, they can tell that that's how I approach situations as a coach too. So obviously there's a little different verbiage sometimes when I'm a coach, but just the overall, the same concepts you learn as a player playing football and then any other sport go into coaching the game. They stick with you when you come out of the game, when I come home, or, when I'm out and about. So just everything I learned from it, being around it 24/7 and all that kind of stuff. So
that's what's up, man. I'm glad that you're able to translate that from the playing world to the coaching world to even your outside life. That's awesome, man. So when I know we touched a little bit about, like you said, watching what you say and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, especially in the private school. And public
Mm-hmm.
school is a little looser and stuff, but how do you handle criticism from like parents like that? Like they're like, oh, you can't talk to my kid like that, or oh, what kind of I had parents like that when I was coaching recreation with
Mm-hmm.
Coach Love. So like, how did you handle that?
So, and I will say it's not necessarily that public school is looser. It's just I think it's the kids handle it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the best thing I can say is, one story that we had was one of our, I think it was our first year at Hickory. We had a parent who his kid was like, the star receiver and stuff like that. And I was sitting in the office with Coach Stone and we were talking about the game and we had won and everything. And we were sitting there talking about it, saying who played good, what we needed to work on, and this, that, and the third. And we were doing laundry because for the past 4 years, after every single game, me and Coach Stone would do laundry and just talk about the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, he sat in and he was talking to us, and I think it was the kid's granddad. And he said something about, his kid wasn't getting enough touches and this, that, and the third. And I was kind of sitting there just watching, seeing how Coach Stone handled the situation. And
Mm-hmm.
then once again, it happened a few weeks later, and that's when I chimed in. And really, the way you just have to handle it is, really the way you handle any situation. If I want to talk to somebody about something, like if I want to approach you about a problem I have, and you pop off immediately with attitude, then the situation is going to go south. But if you just talk to me and talk to me like I'm an adult, not like I'm a 4-year-old, then
Mm-hmm.
it usually goes pretty well. So I've had a few situations where I've had a parent, because most of the time, if you have a good coaching staff
Mm-hmm.
and a good program, as Coach Stone normally runs, most of the time they just go straight to Coach Stone, and Coach Stone can alleviate the issue, and he'll bring it to you like, "Hey, this happened. Look out for it or fix it or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
But I did have one player where he felt like his son was God to get the football, and he felt like he should have been starting because he was a senior, and that's not Coach Stone's philosophy at all.
Not at all.
So he got my number from his son, and was texting me and not cussing me out or anything, but telling me what he felt, and I texted him back, and I was respectful and this, that, and the third. So really, you just have to handle it. As long as they don't say anything that crosses the line,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk to them. Because you kind of get two different things so far, because I haven't been doing this for a long time. So what I've noticed is I get two different things. I get the dads who their son's an all-star, and then you get the moms, unless you have the hard-nosed moms, you get the moms of, just why ain't my baby playing? So you kind of have to ease them down simply as either, your son just can't get it done, or he doesn't show up to practice and they don't know that. You kind of have to. One thing I've learned too with my players that I've had doing O-line and stuff with Coach Stone and just in general is, as long as you're 100% with somebody, I mean, that's really all you can do. If I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and you take it personal, I mean, I can't control that. Like if I just straight up tell you, your kid just can't get the job done. He's not what we're looking for right now. He puts hard work in, this, that, and the third, but he just can't get the job done on Friday nights. Then, I mean, I can't do anything for you. But you kind of just have to approach them all the same as far as being respectful, telling them the truth, letting them down easy, and all that kind of stuff. And as long as they don't go sideways, it shouldn't go sideways.
True that. That's awesome, man. I'm glad like you know how to handle that, because I remember my first time coaching. It was a big adjustment because I got the boisterous parents like, why the my kid ain't playing. He's one of the best receivers since Odell Beckham, or I've had and I always handle it the same way, just like you, respectfully, even though they may want to take it here. I somehow just learn how to keep them down here though. Respectful. So I know you talked a lot about Coach Stone, and Coach Clanton from our days of playing with each other, but now transition that to the coaching role. What's the biggest difference from Coach Stone as your coach as a player than Coach Stone as your coach?
So people love asking me this because well, a lot of those guys that I graduated with, you know, they all found out that when I first moved here, I actually was living with Coach Stone.
Oh, cool.
And they were all worried that, you know, he was terrifying at home. And in all honesty, Coach Stone is a completely different person when he's at home.
Really?
Like sometimes you don't even know he's in the house. Like he's just quiet. He's either watching the Yankees game or watching Andy Griffith's show. Like he's completely different when he's at home. But I mean, honestly, it wasn't a huge difference. In all honesty, like, excuse me. I mean, it wasn't. You know, he'd still have his days. Now, the only thing that was maybe a little different was when we played. You know, he was still older, but he would still yell and get loud and stuff like that. But when we got to Hickory, you know, he would still yell and get loud on days, but like he didn't do it as much. Mm-hmm. But also, you know, the biggest difference was he didn't have Coach Tripp, and Coach Tripp was like his little like. You know, obviously that's his son. That's his right-hand man. That's, you know, something needs to be said. Coach Tripp's going to say it, and Coach Stone would yell when he has to. Mm-hmm. So, honestly, there wasn't a big difference. I mean, the only thing was more of like a pressure I put on myself because, you know, I look up to him, and I wanted to be great when I played for him, mm-hmm. and my goal going into coaching with him was I wanted to get him a state ring as a head coach because he has one at Northern Guilford, but he was an assistant. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get him a ring as a head coach, and I wanted to be like, depending on how long we were together, and obviously, like, I wanted to come to Hickory and us take over that program and run it and be like Bird and when he was at West Forsyth when he had like over 100 kid, like mm-hmm. I wanted to turn that into a program with him. And I wanted to go down as the best O-line coach he's ever had. And, you know, that's no disrespect to Coach Clanton. That's no disrespect from another coach that he had with him that he talked about all the time. Like, there's no disrespect to him. It's just a me thing. So mm-hmm. The transition wasn't really different. It was just more me of, you know, putting pressure on myself, trying to make sure that I watched twice as much film, you know, because I would get on there and I'd be on Huddle and I'd see that he watched 4 hours mm-hmm. and it's Saturday. And I'm like, dang, like I've only watched 2.5 hours. So, you know, I'm trying to keep up with him, and, you know, he never go to sleep and I get tired and I fall asleep watching film and wake up and go, crap, man, I know he's already watching those 3 hours of film. So if he needed to yell at me, honestly, I felt like it was worse because, you know, he's known me since 2010. So, mm-hmm. You know, he wasn't going to say nothing personal or nothing crazy like that. But like, there was one time, and I told him the story, there was one time, because when we first got here, we did hand signals. So I was this hand signal guy. He'd tell me a play, and I signaled in real quick. And I'm signaling a play, or he's telling me a play, and I'm signaling it in, and he punches me in the back, and he goes, "Quick!" And I said, "I'm signaling the play." He goes, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "We've been doing this for 6 games now." So,
oh man,
I mean, it really wasn't a big difference. Like I said, it's just more of a personal pressure, and it'd be the same thing as, you know, when we're playing for him, we watch film and he calls you out personally on the film. You know, what are you doing here? Why this is the way I block it. The only difference is that the O-line's not playing good, I get all of it. So mm-hmm. It wasn't a huge difference in all honesty. Like, you know, and like I said, he's completely different when he's at home. You know, I'll be laying in bed at night getting ready to fall asleep, and you hear the fridge pop open and you hear a Pepsi crack open and he's drinking a Pepsi and he puts it back. So he's completely different at the house.
That's awesome. And shout out to you, Coach, when you see this, because I know you're gonna watch this one. And how about Coach Clanton? Because I know, you know, I personally, when I first came to Bird, I was at Western Hunter in my freshman year, first time I ever playing football. Mm-hmm. Didn't know squat, literally. Like, I was just playing off of just straight, just passion, you know, just wanting to play. I come to Bird, Coach Clanton, shout out to you. I haven't seen Coach Clanton forever, man. Mm-hmm. And, he smartened me up. Like, I've never really learned anything about offensive line until I got there with him and around you. Justin would come every once in a while, you know, to help us out and stuff like foot movement, you know, types of blocks. I didn't know anything from wedging to hinging to chop. I didn't know any of that hand placement. Like, he was the king of detail to me. So can you speak on him and like your relationship with him?
Oh yeah. Coach Clanton's my guy. I mean, what made me want to be a good O lineman was playing for Coach Clanton. Like he made us understand that the position is not, glory. Like your name's not going to be put in the paper. Mm-hmm. I do remember, I think it was my freshman or sophomore year, O-line actually won player of the game because they rushed for like 300-something yards against Southern Lee. And they actually won player of the game. That was Justin and them senior year. But he just made us understand that, O-line was a brotherhood within the team. He made us love the position. Mm-hmm. As much fun as I had playing tight end my junior year, they all went out to dinner one night. And I was absolutely crushed that I couldn't go because I thought I was trying to be cute. And I never went and did O-line stuff. I kept trying to go catch the ball. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, our relationship, it stayed after I graduated. I actually invited him to my graduation. He came to my graduation party. He was one of the first after I texted family, one of the first non-family members, like blood family members that I texted after, I said I was having a baby. Mm-hmm. I went and seen him the night I found out he was in the hospital when he had his lung cancer. I went up there that night. Yeah, we've been to his house many times, even after I graduated. I'd be like, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to come have dinner with you and Mama T. And she'd cook up something delicious, and I'd go over there and eat. Before I came up here, he was one of the people I felt like I had to talk to because him and Coach Stone were so tight for those, 5 years that 5-6 years that Coach Clanton was there. Mm-hmm. And, I had to get his opinion on, what I should do. Because what he would always tell me was, he knew I could do it. Like, he knew I could coach. He knew I was smart enough. One advantage I had, he said he didn't care how big I was. He said the advantage I always had was I was the quarterback on the field for him. Like, if anything needed to be found out or said, this is before we had Huddle Sideline or, like right when Huddle really took off.
Yeah.
I could come to the sideline and I could tell him what was lined up in front of Marley. I could tell him what linebackers were doing on the right side of the field. So I text him still to this day, like actually this year I texted him a lot because, O-line, we were just having a rough year up front. People kept getting hurt. I couldn't figure out how to get my guys to remember the plays. And he would just text me and tell me, all this kind of stuff. And anytime I ever needed something O-line wise, I knew I could text him. If I needed help with anything, I could text him. Mm-hmm. I told him about, how I was feeling with, Coach Stone being let go and how I was going through that. And he's been there since before I graduated. He was always my guy, Mm-hmm. Like I said, text him anytime, call him anytime. If I was ever in town, I'd go to his house and all that kind of stuff. And
that father figure.
Yeah. And that was one thing too, there was a small stint, I think my sophomore year, we were going through something at my house and I was having an awful day and he could tell and pulled me aside, talked, and, I teared up a little bit because, I never had like a father figure do that, pull me aside, talk to me. So mm-hmm. We talked to that and, he was the first one that, because he's your position coach, you get a little bit closer with him. So, yeah, Coach Clanton's my guy. Always been there and always will be.
Shout out to you, Coach Clanton, if you see this, man. I miss you, man. I ain't seen you forever. So, hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing well. And want you to know that I'm doing well for myself now. So, just I know we've been talking, like all over the place when it comes to football and stuff. But one thing that's been crazy and that everyone's been affected by is, of course, COVID-19 and the pandemic. What was it like being a football coach during the pandemic and having to adjust to that whole situation?
The hardest part was when we had to do pods and you can only have a certain amount of players at a time and you couldn't do certain drills because, they couldn't touch or we had to clean after. Like they were at the very beginning, we did bags for everything, trying to limit contact. trying to limit the contact. And as soon as one kid would get done, and we like fast paced practices, we're trying to go quick, get reps in. As soon as that rep gets done, I have to take the time and go and spray the bag and wipe it down and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, really, that was it. Like, football, your team needs to be together, working out, doing drills, having practice, feeding off each other, like being together. So having to do pods of where, and also the practices felt so much longer. Coach Stone likes to practice for max hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2, depending on how it goes, but not even that. And there was days, man, it felt like we were out there forever because we had to break it up where the QBs and receivers and running backs would come out. And then you had the linebacker and the DBs, and then you had the linebackers, O-line, D-line come out, and then they'd practice for like an hour, and then at the very end, all the JV kids could come out. So, man, it felt like we were out there for ages. It was, sun being down on it. I loved it because we're coaching, and you get a little bit more time with it because you're doing specific. But when the pretty boys are out there running around, I'm helping with drills, and then I'm kind of just chilling because I can't really, I'm not gonna step on those toes or. We only had certain my kids, but if everyone said the mask was bad, the mask wasn't that bad. I mean, yeah, it sucked to breathe every once in a while, and the players, they had to adjust to it, but the mask wasn't that bad. The hardest part was not having all of your guys there at one time. Everybody, like the QB and the O line, or the running back and the O line, like that's what was a little bit more tough. And then we couldn't get in the weight room for the first half of it. Because I think it got broken into 3 sections basically. The first one you couldn't get in the weight room, so they weren't allowed to lift. That's crucial. We had to bring certain weights outside, and of course they had to be cleaned. Like that was really the hardest part. Like really adjusting to make sure everything stayed clean, and having everybody in pods and not all there together, one full big team. That was the hardest part probably.
And that's like a nightmare, man. And you're strong for getting through that because that alone, like you said, teams have to be together. I couldn't imagine trying to lift without my teammates around me, or not even be able to lift, or separating. Running backs probably having what type of offense, because running backs, they know their linemen. After a while, they know which ones who's going to really keep that hole open. Which one I may have to a little bit, but. That's crazy because I didn't get to touch on that with Coach Stone when we had our interview because COVID was still just starting out.
We didn't. Yeah, and we weren't really doing too much yet. Like there was no. I think at the time when you interviewed him, we either just had started, so we were doing the pods, or they still hadn't quite figured out. And that was another thing too. The beginning was so bad because we had to wait. There was so much waiting. There was so much. It basically, I think the way, if I remember correctly, was the North Carolina people for sports had to wait on Roy Cooper's thing, and then they had to come up with their own ways to fix it, and then they had to take it to their board. It was a ton of waiting of there was one point that we were going to start at a certain time, and then and then finally they said that okay, we're going to get rid of non-conference. You're going to play 7 games, and all that they kind of pushed everything up. So the waiting at the beginning, waiting if we were going to find out if we have a season. There was at one point in the middle of it, they were thinking about canceling it because the numbers for COVID were going up at the time. So they were thinking about, okay, this is not worth it. We're going to cancel it. And also, not to get sidetracked, that kind of ties back into how do you deal with parents? Because we were getting, on Facebook, our Facebook page and Coach Stone, we're getting comments of, you don't care for the kids, trying to make them practice. All you want to do is coach football and this, that, and the third. You have people coming at coaches, about because we want to coach, that we don't care about the kids because we're trying to make them play during COVID. And what a lot of people don't realize is there's kids out there who some people don't like to hear it, but they need football because it keeps them out of trouble. It keeps their grades up. It gives them that family atmosphere that they don't have at home because mom has to work 3 jobs or dad's not around, or dad has to work 2 jobs or mom has to work the night shift. So, it's, some people don't realize that kids need a sport, not necessarily football. They just need a sport there to keep them around people, keep them out of trouble, keep them around family. So it was a lot, but we got through it and the season was tough, but you had to do what you had to do with it.
Amen on that. So bring up, we talked about Village and we talked about, the other schools that you've coached that literally wasn't the best team, as far as records and stuff. what is the key to really turning around a losing program and turning them to winners or champions?
What I noticed being with Coach Stone is when you first get to a school and you're starting to get your culture set, is getting the kids to buy in and want to play football. Because when we first got here, it's crazy. Because when we first got here, I'd ride around town trying to learn the town, and there's no kids outside playing football. And then after our first year, we start winning games. We were like, 5 games in, and we were winning. You drive around, there's little kids outside playing football. So the biggest thing is getting the kids to buy into what Coach Stone wants to do. Play hard, play fast, physical, effort over everything. Winning and not taking the foot off the gas, dominating on defense, getting in the weight room, lifting as a team. The players leading the team is a big one for him, and I mean, we did that at Bird, our senior class, they didn't think we'd win games. They didn't think we'd make the playoffs, and we ended up on the third round. And it was, a lot of it was people more vocal than I am, because I wasn't that vocal in high school, to be honest with you, except for within the O-line. People like Bolger, Willie, Byron when he had to, Alonzo leading by reputation, getting kids to buy in. And it usually starts, if you can get that first senior class when you get in to kind of buy in, to understand what's going on, it gets going. That first senior class, I tell Coach, me and Coach Stone had this talk a few times. If we would have got there their junior year, that senior class would have been dirty to play with, because even with the guys I played with that were fast, everyone on that team was fast. We had a ton of speed on that team as far as skill position wise and stuff like that. So getting guys to buy in, understanding what you're trying to accomplish. Because also, when we first got here, like I said, they went through 3 coaches in 3 years. So it's kind of hard to believe when someone comes in, yeah, we're going to win games, we're going to do this, that, and the third. It's yeah, that's what the last guy said. So
yep.
getting them to trust Coach Stone, getting your position and other players to trust you, that's a big part of it. Showing them that you actually care outside of football was big for me. Because when I got here, I was only 21. I turned 25 on the 30th. When I told you I was gone for my birthday, so I wasn't too much older. Oh, thank you. I wasn't too much older when I started coaching. When I first started coaching, I was 2 years older than the senior class. So, that was hard for me to get those guys to understand that, yeah, I may only be 18, 19, but I'm your coach. I'm going to respect you, you're going to respect me. So getting kids to buy into your culture, your method, your coaching philosophy, and then just getting them to understand that they play hard and they go and they just play together, crazy things can happen. So that senior class we had the first year, they really bought into it. And after that, it was spotty here and there. We had certain kids who bought in, certain who just didn't. And it just, overall, it was an amazing experience. I wish I could have stayed. I wish Coach Stone could have stayed, but overall, like I said, I just chose to try to start school and get my teaching stuff done. But because I'm not going to take credit that it was all Coach Stone. I mean, he's done it everywhere he's been. He turned around West Forsyth when he got there. He turned around Bird when he got there, second year state championship run. He does it wherever he goes. He turns programs around. So, regardless of what the record showed or we didn't make the playoffs our second year, regardless of what all that showed, those kids were playing hard. Every team goes through trials and tribulations and all that stuff, but the kids were playing hard. And a lot of them bought in, but it's mainly that, getting them to buy into what you want to coach, what your philosophy is, and all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome, man. So I got just a few more questions for you, Jacob, and I appreciate you, answering as honestly as possible and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, what, in your opinion, what is an excellent football player? In your opinion, or what makes an excellent football player, I should say.
For me, it's, I guess, honestly, it's really anyone. I just think of, my senior class, we were just a super tight knit group. a lot of those guys hung out outside of class, outside of school, and like we all prepared together. We made each other better. Me, Byron, and Willie were going at it all the time. Dada and Mike were going at it all the time. But other thing, it's being coachable. Like you have to be coachable. Like if a coach is getting onto you, you can't take it personal. Like it's about football. We're trying to get you better because our job is 5% of the work. You got to go do the 95% part to make it look like we were doing our job. And I mean, being coachable, being a team player, doing things when you're not asked to do them, doing extra work. I mean, being good at your position is a help, I guess. Being, trusting into your coach, trusting your teammates, not being selfish. Because if you're selfish, it can ruin a team quick. You have one selfish player. It's hard for, and this is no shot at them, but it's hard for some receivers and running backs. There's only one ball on the field, so they all want their own grab at it. So it's those little intangibles that a lot of times you either have it or you don't, or some of them you can learn over time. But most of the time, as a dude or as a teenage boy, either you have it or you don't. So, I think of players that I play with, I guess the one that everyone would know is, my guy Byron, my brother Byron. He did everything right. He worked out after practice because he had all that stuff going on, but he wasn't going to miss a workout to let us down. He led us when he had to. Started as a sophomore, was a captain his junior and senior year. I mean, things like that is what makes you a good football player. I mean, it makes you a good human, doing little things right when you have to do them right. Being accountable, that's a huge one, that I learned from Coach Stone. He always used to tell us the best ability a man can have is accountability. Because if I can't account on you in a game like football, I can't account on you while we're at work flipping burgers or while we're at work moving steel. So accountability is a big one, and things like that. It's for me, when it comes to a good football player, it's intangibles that you learn from football or that you have as a character. It may not even necessarily deal with the sport itself.
Man, on that, man, that's 100% true. Shout out to you, Byron, too. He's a big fan of the show. I flipped out. I sent him a video. I seen him on TV not too long ago, and I was like, "Yo, hey, I used to play football." I was at my job. Everyone looking at me like, "What the hell is wrong with Elvis?"
Yeah.
So, Jacob, I always ask. Well, not always. I'm actually very different with my interviews. I try to be, but one thing I like to throw in there once in a while is like asking people what's their hidden talent. And I know like coaches, I mean, I'm surprised with some of the answers I've gotten. So what is your hidden talent that your friends or family may not even know about?
To be honest, literally the only thing I would say I'm good at is sports. I mean, I can't dance at all. I sing like a dying cat, so that ain't happening. Yeah, I don't really like being the little bit of athleticism that I have is probably not. See, I know it sounds boring, but I mean,
I have people say, "Oh, actually, I'm pretty underrated for my cooking skills," or like I've had people say, "Yeah, man, like I could do it all," but you're just like, "Yeah, man, I'm not that good at anything but sport."
Yeah, no,
awesome.
I mean it sounds bad, when people say, "Oh, all you have is sports." I'm like, "Well, I'm pretty good at them, so I'm doing something right." I mean,
okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean,
so one thing I do always ask my guests because I just love their answer is what's their favorite quote. So what's your favorite quote that you love or lean on during the good times or bad times?
I usually have a bunch, but I mean, one that always kind of stuck with me was tough times don't last, but tough people do. Man, I mean, I haven't gone through anything on a consistent tragic basis as some of the people we went to school with and stuff. few years ago, I lost my uncle. So, I mean, that kind of helped me through that because, you know, my uncle was a hard-nosed guy. So I felt like, you know, I was going to start crying or something because, you know, I lost my uncle. And I feel like I could hear him in the background going, you know, I see no tears, and, you know, and I toughen up. And, you know, when things get hard in football, like this past season, you know, we didn't win any games and the O-line wasn't playing great. And I just feel like, I mean, all I can do from this is figure out what I did wrong and try not to prevent it any other time I get a job. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing, you know, that at some point, as bad as everything seems like it's going, depending on what someone's going through, because everyone goes through something different at different levels or whatever, it will end at some point. May feel like it never does, but it does. And you're going to be tougher when you get out of it. You know, as long as you find the way out of it the correct way and figure out how to motivate yourself, you know, you're always going to be tough. So that one always kind of helped me in any tiny situation, you know, having a bad day at work, I'll be better the next day, and stuff like that. So,
amen on that, and I love that one. Tough times don't last what tough people do. That's awesome. All right, man. I appreciate the time you've given me, Jacob. It's good catching up with you. Good seeing that, you know, down your basically your path, your journey, you know, into football and everything, man. That's awesome. Is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to, or where any of my peeps could find you at?
If I'm on Instagram, Coach Jake_3. I'm on there a lot. And I mean, I guess I could just shout out to anyone that, you know, Coach Clanton, Coach Stone, Coach Tripp. Those are, you know, of course I keep in contact with them because I always give Coach Tripp, you know, some crap here and there. I was like, yeah, you never talked to me in high school, but now you're talking to me all the time, and you know, I start laughing and stuff like that. But of course, my mom, you know, she did everything she could to make sure I stayed at Bird when we were moving, so I could stay playing. My girlfriend Erica, she went to Bird and everything, and you know, one thing that you'll learn, and I think Coach Stone touched on it a little bit. One thing you learn as a coach is one thing that keeps us sane and keeps us going is, you know, is our female behind us, because, you know, they have to put up with our attitudes when we have a bad game or a bad practice, and you try not to bring it home, but every once in a while you will, because you're just that frustrated. And you know, the long nights of where I'm gone because, you know, I have to be at the school at 3 and then I'm not home till like 11 because I stay and do laundry, and then I'm up all night watching film. Then I'm, you know, on Saturdays watching film and football 24/7. So, you know, shout out to her and her putting up with, you know, that first year when I moved out here, we only saw each other every so often. You know, I'd drive down to Fayetteville, a 3-hour ride, hang out with her on the weekend and be gone for the rest of it. So she was a big help, me moving up here and then just being a part of the process of me chasing it. And you know, my family and all my friends and, you know, my guys, Chase and Mike D and all them, because, you know, they usually text me, you know, how'd the game go, how'd JV go, because Coach Stone let me be the JV head coach the past 2 years, and that was a fun experience. So yeah, just anyone that helped me along the way, you know, I told myself I was gonna, you know, whenever I get right, you know, I'm gonna take care of all of them. So, you know, they're all on my clear conscience side, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, all my teammates that we played with that, you know, made us competitive, made us work, you know, made me want to be better, because I always told myself I was letting the team down, even though I know I wasn't, but it always helped me drive myself to be better and all that kind of stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So, and you know, this past few years ain't been great for us. We lost a lot of Bird guys, you know, RP Lonzo, P. So we lost a lot of teammates and stuff. So
yep, Lonzo, Breon,
so yeah, Breon and a few other Bird guys. Linwood was a good dude. So Mook, we lost, you know, Marcus. Rest in peace to those guys. You know, I played football with 4 of those guys. So, and you know, Lonzo was my running back. So, and not to get sidetracked, I know you know, we're about to get off and everything, but you know, Lonzo was epitome of a great football player. You know, Bolger talked him into playing, told him he had to play. He had to come out and play, and started as a junior as a receiver, and then took over the running back spot. And I remember our junior year when I was playing tight end, he was playing receiver. They were all playing basketball, and there was one week we went out there every single day after school, and we'd run routes together, and and work on long snapping and punting because I was the long snapper and he was the punter. So, we really got close during that time frame of it was literally just us on the baseball field working out, doing speed ladder, doing cone work, hand drills, footwork, all that kind of stuff. So losing him was real tough. I know it was a lot more tough on, Bolger and Alex and all those guys. So, but yeah, that just give shout out to anyone that kind of put up with me along the way, me being stubborn or hours of film or can't go hang out because I got to watch film, got to scout these guys, all that kind of stuff. So.
That's awesome, man. Thank you again for all your time, man, and thank you for touching on Lonzo too, man. Lonzo was a great person. Rest in peace to him and to everyone that we have lost from our birth family. And much success and luck and blessings your way, man. I know you're gonna kill it, bro. You still got that drive that you had as a player. Transitioned well to coaching and into real life, man.
And then, of course, the last person I'd love to shout out, she's only 1 year old, is my daughter. I had a daughter in March, so that was a big change for me. Always wanted to be a dad, so absolutely love her. She's young now, but doing that coaching, being around Coach Stone, his entire family loves coaching. Obviously, Coach Tripp's a coach, and but that even his daughters, they just love watching Coach Stone coach and all that kind of stuff. So. But obviously while I'm watching film when she's sleeping or while I'm at games, I'm not around. So she may not realize now, but she's sacrificing time. I'm sacrificing time away from her. She's sacrificing time with me because, I'm trying to chase dreams to hopefully be a big coach one day and, give her everything she wants. And with all my other kids, I plan on having too. So big shout out to my little girl, Inaya. So.
Awesome, man. You're definitely a great man, great father, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you, brother.
Oh yeah, hey, same to you, man. I mean, you taking off of this thing, man. And I was actually telling someone at work today. I was like, because I told him I was doing this today, and I told him how I'm a dork when it comes to names. I was like, his name is pretty impressive. His last name is Peoples, and his podcast name is The People's Choice. So I was like, that was impressive. I was like, so I mean, but yeah, congrats to you, man. You taking off of this thing already 26 episodes, and now with me. So and I've told. You've interviewed some Fayetteville legends with, the guy from the Omni that worked out that had his heart surgery and Coach Stone. First episode, getting Coach Stone on there. I mean, you're doing some big things with this, man. So congrats to you too.
Thank you, man. And you're a part of the People's Choice family now too, man. So
hey,
as this platform and stuff gets bigger, people will know you, man. And I hope it brings many opportunities. So all you coaches out there that's gonna be watching this now, take notes. All right, Jacob. I appreciate your time, man. Thank you again.
Sir. Thank you.
And much success, man.
Yes, sir.
You have a good one, brother.
All right, yeah.